Hey, what's going on people? It's SGZ here from the SpartanGameZone, and in this video I'll be letting you know how you can use a grenade mod to trigger endless explosions that either instantly drop bosses or melt them until there's nothing left. This is an insane interaction. The porcelain pipe bomb is back. This works on every Vault Hunter, and let's crack into it. The first and really only thing you'll need is the waterfall grenade mod, which is just a little bit broken if you use it in the right way. It has an increased chance to drop from Bio Bulkhead, who you can find around in this area of the Fade Fields. So what exactly is going on here? Well, it's actually quite simple. It means that any Vault Hunter, no matter your build, will be able to replicate it. And it all comes down to the unique effect of the waterfall. So if I equip one and we read what that says, it says causes additional explosions when damaging targets. So if I just chuck this on the ground normally, you'll notice that there's just one explosion. So if I throw it on the ground here, one explosion, right? As expected. But if I throw it in the vicinity of the dummy here, you'll notice a second one happening around the dummy. And that's basically our avenue to exploding it. So just to confirm that nothing crazy is going on right now, I'm spec'd into absolutely no skills, by the way, and I have nothing equipped. So if I chuck this grenade in the middle here, normal, right? Right, that's what we expect. Another one, same shebang. But if I equip some firmware that increases our splash radius, so what do we have? We have 2 get throwings for 20% splash radius, and well, there's 2 airstrikes there, but that 1 point will give us another 20% to give us 40% splash radius. And now if I chuck the waterfall, what do we have? Am I at a rave? I don't know, that base is pretty gnarly. The porcelain pipe bomb is back. Essentially what's happening here is that we've increased our splash radius enough, so we're registering enough hits to have the waterfall's bonus explosions loop indefinitely. Indefinitely until whatever's causing or triggering them dies. And because the dummies don't die, this will just continue to happen forever and ever. Forcing the area to re-render by teleporting away is how you make it stop. And the absolute blessing that makes this all possible is that those extra looping explosions don't damage us, but they will damage enemies. The looping explosions don't deal a whole lot of damage, but they happen so rapidly that they can drop bosses in a blink of an eye. You'll notice here in Sanctuary, with the explosion loop going off, that we have hit the maximum amount of explosions the game engine can handle. So if I chuck this grenade again, I don't get hurt. We're triggering so many explosions so rapidly that there's simply no room for any more. And that should give you a sense of how much carnage this thing can cause. Because we are pushing the limits, there is potential for your game to crash. However, I've only had it crash on me once, well, multiple times actually, but they were all tied to the Origo boss fight, where this interaction doesn't really work. Well, it did work, but I couldn't get it to work consistently. Or at least understand why it only triggered halfway through the boss fight each time. It seems to be caused by the arena changing and the waterfall grenade mod proccing hits against the arena. One time my game didn't crash when farming Origo, I noticed that the explosion loop continued, so it was obviously registering hits against something. And that might be another avenue to explore with this interaction, and I'm still trying to work out that side of it. But for now, I'd advise you to avoid trying to replicate this interaction against Origo. Unless, hey, you want to trigger a crash report, and you do you, fam. Every other boss I tried though worked flawlessly. But do keep in mind also that I'm running on PC here, and your experience may differ on console. So repeating this for yourself is just as easy as I demonstrated before. Just increase your splash radius enough to hit enough of the dummies, and you'll get the porcelain pipe bomb effect. However, in practice, while mobbing or during boss fights, it is situational. And the key thing to keep in mind if you're trying to replicate this outside of the dummies is that the endless explosion loop will only trigger if you register enough hits. From my testing so far, the minimum amount of hits you need to register on one throw of the waterfall is at least 6. So if you throw the waterfall into the heart of a group of 6 enemies, then you'll see it trigger rapid explosions until everything is dead. Now you may be thinking there's only 4 dummies in Sanctuary, and you're right, and by the way we're only hitting 3 with that first grenade. However, it seems that the dummies in Sanctuary have a number of hitboxes, i.e. 2 each, that is proccing the Waterfall's legendary effect to trigger the endless explosion loop. Vile enemies seem to operate in the same vein, as they have crystals attached to them, which have their own hitboxes, which will bring you closer to the threshold to trigger those endless explosions. So if you're looking at bosses and thinking, can I waterfall it? Well, it all depends on how many targets there are in the arena. So a boss fight like Backhive, who summons a number of Nitro Cratch, gives us plenty of fuel to trigger this interaction where he'll die instantly. It's completely insane, I know, and there's a lot of bosses you can do that with. Even if it's not dropping them instantly, like here with Primordial Guardian Inceptus, those endless explosions will drain their health bar until they are no more. It really is the porcelain pipe bomb on steroids. The number one thing you can do to make this work even better is increase your splash damage radius, because as we saw before while testing on the dummies, it's that splash radius that allows us to hit more targets and then trigger the explosive crescendo. A waterfall with the expansive or nuke augments are a great place to start, and you can even use the airstrike or gadget ahoy firmware as mentioned before. Once you've got that all sorted and can reliably trigger this interaction, it's all about increasing the damage. And that can happen through ordnance damage, damage dealt, splash damage, or elemental damage rolls, and maybe even a few others depending on your build. However, the one I found most important, at least for me on Rafa, is making sure I've got the specialization skills that focus on ordnance. That should give you guys all you need to get this up and working for yourself, no matter who you play as.